A Thread on the Union. Book 1. Contemplation. Now the exposition of union is being made. The restraint of the modifications of the mind stuff is union. Then the self abides in his own nature. At other times, the self appears to assume the forms of the mental modifications. There are 5 kinds of mental modifications which are either painful or painless. They are right knowledge, misconception, verbal delusion, sleep, and memory. The sources of right knowledge are direct perception, inference, and scriptural testimony. Misconception occurs when knowledge of something is not based upon its true form. An image that arises on hearing mere words without any reality as its basis is verbal delusion. That mental modification supported by cognition of nothingness is sleep. When a mental modification of an object previously experienced and not forgotten comes back to consciousness, that is memory. These mental modifications are restrained by practice and non-attachment. Of these two, effort toward steadiness of mind is practice. Practice becomes firmly grounded when well attended to for a long time, without break and in all earnestness. The consciousness of self-mastery in one who is free from craving for objects seen or heard about is non-attachment. When there is non-thirst for even the constituents of nature due to realization of the true self, that is supreme non-attachment. Distinguished contemplation is accompanied by reasoning, reflecting, rejoicing, and pure I-amness. By the firmly convinced practice of the complete cessation of the mental modifications, the impressions only remain. This is the other absorption. Those who merely leave their physical bodies and attain the state of celestial deities, or those who get merged in nature, have rebirth. To the others, this undistinguished contemplation could come through faith, strength, memory, contemplation, or by discernment. To the keen and intent practitioner, this absorption comes very quickly. The time necessary for success further depends on whether the practice is mild, medium, or intense, or absorption is obtained by devotion with total dedication to God. God is the supreme, pure consciousness, unaffected by any afflictions, actions, fruits of actions, or by any inner impressions of desires. In him is the complete manifestation of the seed of omniscience. Unconditioned by time, he is the teacher of even the most ancient teachers. The word expressive of God is the mystic sound Om. To repeat it with reflection upon its meaning is an aid. From this practice all the obstacles disappear, and simultaneously dawns knowledge of the inner self. Disease, dullness, doubt, carelessness, laziness, sensuality, false perception, failure to reach firm ground, and slipping from the ground gained these distractions of the mind stuff are the obstacles. Accompaniments to the mental distractions include distress, despair, trembling of the body, and disturbed breathing. The practice of concentration on a single object or the use of one technique is the best way to prevent the obstacles and their accompaniments. By cultivating attitudes of friendliness toward the happy, compassion for the unhappy, delight in the virtuous, and disregard toward the wicked, the mind stuff retains its undisturbed calmness, or that calm is retained by the controlled exhalation or retention of the breath, or the concentration on the subtle sense perceptions can cause steadiness of the mind, or by concentrating on the supreme, ever-blissful light within, or by concentrating on a great soul's mind which is totally freed from attachment to sense objects, or by concentrating on an experience had during dream or deep sleep, or by meditating on anything one chooses that is elevating. Gradually, one's mastery and concentration extends from the original atom to the greatest magnitude. Just as the naturally pure crystal assumes shapes and colors of objects placed near it, so the union sage's mind, with its totally weakened modifications, becomes clear and balanced and attains the state devoid of differentiation between knower, knowable, and knowledge. This culmination of meditation is absorption. The absorption in which name, form, and knowledge of them is mixed is called with analytical thought absorption, or absorption with deliberation. When the memory is well purified, the knowledge of the object of concentration shines alone, devoid of the distinction of name and quality. This is without analytical thought absorption, or absorption without deliberation. In the same way, reflective and non-reflective absorptions, which are practiced upon subtle objects, are explained. The subtlety of possible objects of concentration ends only at the undefinable. All these absorptions are with seed, which could bring one back into bondage or mental disturbance. In the purity of non-reflective absorption, the Supreme Self shines. This is the absolute true consciousness. This special truth is totally different from knowledge gained by hearing, study of scripture, or inference. The impression produced by this absorption wipes out all other impressions. When even this impression is wiped out, every impression is totally wiped out, and there is seedless absorption. Book 2. Practice. Accepting pain as help for purification, study of spiritual books, and surrender to the Supreme Being constitute union in practice. They help us minimize obstacles and obtain absorption. Ignorance, egoism, attachment, hatred, and clinging to bodily life are the 5 obstacles. Ignorance is the field for the others mentioned after it, whether they be dormant, feeble, intercepted, or sustained. Ignorance is regarding the impermanent as permanent, the impure as pure, the painful as pleasant, and the non-self as the self. Egoism is the identification, as it were, of the power of the seer with that of the instrument of seeing body-mind. Attachment is that which follows identification with pleasurable experiences. Aversion is that which follows identification with painful experiences. Clinging to life, flowing by its own potency due to past experience, exists even in the wise. In subtle form, these obstacles can be destroyed by resolving them back into their original cause, the ego. In the active state, they can be destroyed by meditation. The womb or actions has its root in these obstacles, and the actions bring experience in the seen, present, or in the unseen, future, births. With the existence of the root, there will be fruits also, namely, the births of different species of life, their lifespans and experiences. The actions bear fruits of pleasure and pain caused by merit and demerit. To one of discrimination, everything is painful indeed, due to its consequences. The anxiety and fear over losing what is gained, the resulting impressions left in the mind to create renewed cravings, and the constant conflict among the 3 constituents of nature which control the mind. Pain that has not yet come is avoidable. The cause of that avoidable pain is the union of the seer, pure consciousness, and seen, nature. The seen is of the nature of the constituents of nature, illumination, activity, and inertia, and consists of the elements and sense organs whose purpose is to provide both experiences and liberation to the pure consciousness. The stages of the constituents of nature are specific, non-specific, defined, and undefinable. The seer is nothing but the power of seeing which, although pure, appears to see through the mind. The seen exists only for the sake of the seer. Although destroyed for him who has attained liberation, the seen still exists for others, being common to them. The union of owner, pure consciousness, and owned, nature, causes the recognition of the nature and powers of them both. The cause of this union is ignorance. Without this ignorance, no such union occurs. This is the independence of the seer. Uninterrupted discriminative discernment is the method for its removal. One's wisdom in the final stage is 7-fold. By the practice of the limbs of union, the impurities dwindle away, and there dawns the light of wisdom, leading to discriminative discernment. The 8 limbs of union are abstinence, observance, posture, breath control, sense withdrawal, concentration, meditation, absorption, contemplation, absorption, or superconscious state. Discipline consists of non-violence, truthfulness, non-stealing, continence, and non-greed. These great vows are universal, not limited by class, place, time, or circumstance. Inner discipline consists of purity, contentment, accepting but not causing pain, study of spiritual books and worship of God. When disturbed by negative thoughts, opposite, positive ones should be thought of. This is cultivating the opposite of negativity. When negative thoughts or acts such as violence, etc. are done, caused to be done, or even approved of, whether incited by greed, anger, or infatuation, whether indulged in with mild, medium, or extreme intensity, they are based on ignorance and bring certain pain. Reflecting thus is also cultivating the opposite of negativity. In the presence of one firmly established in non-violence, all hostilities cease. To one established in truthfulness, actions and their results become subservient. To one established in non-stealing, all wealth comes. By one established in continence, vigor is gained. When non-greed is confirmed, a thorough illumination of the how and why of one's birth comes. By purification arises disgust for one's own body and for contact with other bodies. Moreover, one gains purity of the pure reflective nature, cheerfulness of mind, one-pointedness, mastery over the senses, and fitness for self-realization. By contentment, supreme joy is gained. By austerity, impurities of body and sense are destroyed and occult powers gained. By study of spiritual books comes communion with one's chosen deity. By total surrender to God, absorption is attained. Asana is a steady, comfortable posture. By lessening the natural tendency for restlessness, and by meditating on the infinite, posture is mastered. Thereafter, one is undisturbed by the dualities. Firm posture being acquired, the movements of inhalation and exhalation should be controlled. This is breath control. The modifications of the life breath are either external, internal, or stationary. They are to be regulated by space, time, and number, and are either long or short. There is a fourth kind of breath control that occurs during concentration on an internal or external object. As its result, the veil over the inner light is destroyed, and the mind becomes fit for concentration. When the senses withdraw themselves from the objects and imitate, as it were, the nature of the mind stuff, this is withdrawal. Then follows supreme mastery over the senses. Book 3. Accomplishments. Focused attention is the binding of the mind to one place, object, or idea. Meditation is the continuous flow of cognition toward that object. Absorption is the same meditation when there is the shining of the object alone, as if devoid of form. The practice of these three, focused attention, meditation, and absorption upon one object, is called integrated control. By the mastery of integrated control comes the light of knowledge. Its practice is to be accomplished in stages. These three, focused attention, meditation, and absorption, are more internal than the preceding 5 limbs. Even these three are external to the seedless absorption. The impressions which normally arise are made to disappear by the appearance of suppressive efforts, which in turn create new mental modifications. The moment of conjunction of mind and new modifications is transformation into mental cessation. The flow of transformation into mental cessation becomes steady through habit. When there is a decline in distractedness and appearance of one-pointedness, then comes absorption transformation. Then again, when the subsiding past and rising present images are identical, there is one-pointedness, By this, the transformations of the visible characteristics, time factors, and conditions of elements and senses are also described. It is the nature that by nature goes through latent, uprising, and unmanifested phases. The succession of these different phases is the cause of the differences in stages of evolution. By practicing integrated control on the 3 stages of evolution comes knowledge of past and future. A word, its meaning, and the idea behind it are normally confused because of superimposition upon one another. By integrated control on the word or sound produced by any being, knowledge of its meaning is obtained. By direct perception, through integrated control of one's mental impressions, knowledge of past births is obtained. By integrated control on the distinguishing signs of others' bodies, knowledge of their mental images is obtained. But this does not include the support in the person's mind, as that is not the object of the integrated control. By integrated control on the form of one's body, and by checking the power of perception, by intercepting light from the eyes of the observer, the body becomes invisible. In the same way, the disappearance of sound, touch, taste, smell, etc. is explained. Actions are of 2 kinds, quickly manifesting and slowly manifesting. By integrated control on them, or on the portents of death, the knowledge of the time of death is obtained. By integrated control on friendliness and other such qualities, the power to transmit them is obtained. By integrated control on the strength of elephants and other such animals, their strength is obtained. By integrated control on the light within, the knowledge of the subtle, hidden, and remote is obtained. By integrated control on the sun, knowledge of the entire solar system is obtained. By integrated control on the moon comes knowledge of the star's arrangement. By integrated control on the pole star comes knowledge of the star's movements. By integrated control on the navel plexus, knowledge of the body's constitution is obtained. By integrated control on the pit of the throat, cessation of hunger and thirst is achieved. By integrated control on the tortoise nerve, a subtle tortoise-shaped tube located below the throat, motionlessness in the meditative posture is achieved. By integrated control on the light at the crown of the head, thousand-petaled wheel, visions of masters and adepts are obtained. Or, in the knowledge that dawns by spontaneous enlightenment through a life of purity, all the powers come by themselves. By integrated control on the heart, the knowledge of the mind stuff is obtained. The intellect and the pure consciousness, or eternal soul, are totally different, the intellect existing for the sake of the pure consciousness, while the pure consciousness exists for its own sake. Not distinguishing this is the cause of all experiences, and by integrated control on the distinction, knowledge of the pure consciousness is gained. From this knowledge arises superphysical hearing, touching, seeing, tasting, and smelling through spontaneous intuition. These superphysical senses are obstacles to seedless absorption, but are powers or accomplishments in the worldly pursuits. By the loosening of the cause of the bondage of mind to body, and by knowledge of the procedure of the mind stuff's functioning, entering another's body is accomplished. By mastery over the upward nerve current, one accomplishes levitation over water, swamps, thorns, etc., and can leave the body at will. By mastery over the equalizing nerve current comes radiance to surround the body. By integrated control on the relationship between ear and ether, supernormal hearing becomes possible. By integrated control on the relationship between the body and ether, lightness of cotton fiber is attained, and thus traveling through the ether becomes possible. By integrated control on thought waves unidentified by and external to the body or the great bodilessness, the veil over the light of the self is destroyed. By integrated control on the gross and subtle elements and on their essential nature, correlations and purpose, mastery over them is gained. From that comes attainment of anima and other powers, bodily perfection, and the non-obstruction of bodily functions by the influence of the elements. The 8 major powers alluded to here are to become very small, to become very big, to become very light, to become heavy, to reach anywhere, to achieve all one's desires, ability to create anything, ability to command and control everything. Beauty, grace, strength, and unyielding hardness constitute bodily perfection. By integrated control on the power of perception and on the essential nature, correlation with the ego sense and purpose of these sense organs, mastery over them is gained. From that, the body gains the power to move as fast as the mind, ability to function without the aid of these sense organs, and complete mastery over the primary cause, nature. By recognition of the distinction between the pure reflective nature and the self, supremacy over all states and forms of existence, omnipotence, is gained, as is omniscience. By non-attachment even to that all these powers, the seed of bondage is destroyed and thus follows independence. The union sage should neither accept nor smile with pride at the admiration of even the celestial beings, as there is the possibility of his getting caught again in the undesirable. By integrated control on single moments in sequence comes discriminative knowledge. Thus, the indistinguishable differences between objects that are alike in species, characteristic marks, and positions becomes distinguishable. The discriminative knowledge that simultaneously comprehends all objects in all conditions is the intuitive knowledge which brings liberation. When the tranquil mind attains purity equal to that of the self, there is absoluteness. Book 4. Absoluteness. Powers are born of practices performed in previous births, or by herbs, mantra repetition, asceticism, or by absorption. The transformation of one species into another is brought about by the inflow of nature. Incidental events do not directly cause natural evolution. They just remove the obstacles as a farmer removes the obstacles in a watercourse running to his field. A union sage's egoity alone is the cause of other artificially created minds. Although the functions in the many created minds may differ, the original mind stuff of the union sage is the director of them all. Only the minds born of meditation, the artificially created ones, are free from action-based impressions. The actions of the union sage are neither white, good, nor black, bad, but the actions of others are of 3 kinds, good, bad, and mixed. Of these actions, only those subconscious impressions for which there are favorable conditions for producing their fruits will manifest in a particular birth. Although desires are separated from their fulfillments by class, space, and time, they have an uninterrupted relationship because the impressions of desires and memories of them are identical. Since the desire to live is eternal, impressions are also beginningless. The impressions being held together by cause, effect, basis, and support, they disappear with the disappearance of these 4. The past and future exist in the real form of objects which manifest due to differences in the conditions of their characteristics. Whether manifested or subtle, these characteristics belong to the nature of the constituents of nature. The reality of things is due to the uniformity of the constituents of nature's transformations. Due to differences in various minds, perception of even the same object may vary. Nor does an object's existence depend upon a single mind, for if it did, what would become of that object when that mind did not perceive it? An object is known or unknown dependent on whether or not the mind gets colored by it. Due to his changelessness, changes in the mind stuff are always known to the pure consciousness, who is its Lord. The mind stuff is not inherently radiant because it is an object of perception by the pure consciousness. The mind stuff cannot perceive both subject and object simultaneously, which proves it is not inherently radiant. If the perception of one mind by another mind be postulated, we would have to assume an endless number of them, and the result would be confusion of memory. The consciousness of the pure consciousness is unchangeable. By getting the reflection of it, the mind stuff becomes conscious of the self. The mind stuff, when colored by both seer and seen, understands everything. Though having countless desires, the mind stuff exists for the sake of another, the pure consciousness, because it can act only in association with it. To one who sees the distinction between the mind and the eternal soul, thoughts of mind as the eternal soul cease forever. Then the mind stuff is inclined toward discrimination and gravitates toward absoluteness. In between, distracting thoughts may arise due to past impressions. They can be removed, as in the case of the obstacles explained before. He who, due to his perfect discrimination, is totally disinterested, even in the highest rewards, remains in the constant discriminative discernment, which is called cloud of natural order absorption. From that absorption, all afflictions and actions cease. Then all the coverings and impurities of knowledge are totally removed. Because of the infinity of this knowledge, what remains to be known is almost nothing. Then the constituents of nature terminate their sequence of transformations because they have fulfilled their purpose. The sequence means an uninterrupted succession of moments which can be recognized at the end of their transformations. Thus, the supreme state of independence manifests while the constituents of nature reabsorb themselves into nature, having no more purpose to serve the pure consciousness. Or, to look from another angle, the power of pure consciousness settles in its own pure nature.